The door swings open and you step into the room. Your eyes lock onto her instantly. Before you even cross the floor, your posture shifts. You pull your shoulders back, adjust your tone, and prepare the script you have been rehearsing in your head. You approach her, and the performance begins. Every word you speak is calculated to win approval. You mirror her gestures, laugh a beat too long at her jokes, and offer praise that feels hollow the moment it leaves your lips. You think this is devotion. You think this is how you secure her attention. But watch her eyes. They do not linger on you, they drift. As you lean in to agree with her latest opinion, she leans back. The more you offer, the more she retreats. You are not a partner in this conversation. You are a mirror, reflecting only what you think she wants to see. The air between you grows thin. You are working harder than anyone else in the room, yet you are becoming invisible. Stop. Look at the space you occupy. You are not building a bridge to her. You are digging a trench. That constant need to please, that desperate scramble to align your thoughts with hers, it is not romantic. It is a broadcast. You are signaling to her subconscious that you possess low social value. You are telling her that your own compass is broken, that you require her validation to function. This is the hard truth. Attraction is not a reward for your servitude. It is a reaction to your strength. When you sacrifice your autonomy to stay in her orbit, you lose the very gravity that pulls her toward you. You become predictable. You become a background character in your own life. But this cycle is not permanent. It is a set of learned traps, and they can be dismantled. We are going to break down the 5 psychological barriers that men construct between themselves and the attraction they desire. We will strip away the performance and replace it with the mechanics of genuine connection. If you want to stop chasing and start being the person others naturally gravitate toward, you must first recognize the traps you have been walking into every single day. Let us dissect the first one. The first trap is the constant performance. You enter a room and immediately switch into a role. You are not yourself. You are a curated version of what you believe she wants to encounter. You speak with a polished tone, you laugh at the right intervals, and you curate your stories to highlight your best traits. You believe this is how you win her over. You are wrong. Every time you perform, you send a silent, powerful signal. You are not enough as you are. You are telling her that your natural state is insufficient, so you must manufacture a persona to compensate. Attraction requires a foundation of mystery. When you perform, you remove the unknown. You become a predictable, static object. There is no room for her to wonder about your depths, because you are constantly laying them out on the table like a salesman. You are trying to fill the silence with your own manufactured worth. By doing this, you surrender your autonomy. You are killing the very thing you are trying to ignite. You are trading your substance for a temporary, hollow applause. When you fall into this trap, you cease to be a partner. You become a mirror. You reflect her opinions, you mimic her energy, and you adjust your posture to match her mood. You think you are being supportive, but you are actually erasing your own borders. A mirror has no shape of its own. It only shows what is placed in front of it. When you operate this way, you provide her with no friction, no challenge, and no independent perspective. You are simply an echo chamber for her own thoughts. This creates a fundamentally hollow dynamic. Attraction is not found in sameness. It is found in the tension between two distinct, sovereign individuals. By becoming a mirror, you remove the space between you. There is no mystery, no discovery, and no genuine interaction because you have surrendered your autonomy to the role of a follower. She is not looking for a reflection of herself. She is looking for a person with a distinct internal life, a man who stands on his own ground. When you strip away your own opinions to accommodate her, you are not creating harmony. You are creating a void where your personality should be. To break this cycle, you must stop trying to be the most impressive person in the room. The moment you decide to impress, you lose. You are essentially asking for validation rather than building a connection. Instead, shift your focus entirely. Stop performing and start being interested. Curiosity is a far more powerful tool than charisma. When you are truly interested, you stop worrying about how you are perceived and start focusing on who she actually is. This changes the entire energy of the interaction. Start asking questions that go beyond the surface. Do not just agree with her statements, challenge them. Ask her why she holds a specific belief. Ask her what experiences shaped her view. When you challenge her perspective, you are not being difficult, you are being an active participant. You are showing that you have your own mind and that you value the truth of a conversation over the comfort of an easy agreement. A healthy dynamic requires two distinct individuals, not a leader and a follower. By asking thoughtful, probing questions, you create a two-sided exchange. You force the interaction to move away from a monologue about your own worth and toward a dialogue about shared ideas. You stop being a performer on a stage and start being a partner in a conversation. This is how you reclaim your autonomy. Now, we must address the second trap, the agreement habit. You likely believe that agreeing with everything she says builds rapport. You think it makes the interaction smooth, easy, and pleasant. In reality, it creates a flat, predictable dynamic that drains the life out of the room. When you suppress your own opinions to avoid conflict, you are not being agreeable. You are signaling a profound lack of self-respect. You are telling her that your internal compass is secondary to her comfort. Think about the mechanics of this behavior. Every time you nod along to an opinion you do not share, you diminish your own presence. You become a background character in your own life. This is not a strategy for connection. It is a strategy for invisibility. A man who never disagrees is a man who has no boundaries. When you are always in agreement, you stop being a person and start being a prop. But attraction does not grow in the soil of total compliance. It requires a man who is capable of holding his own ground. By refusing to voice your own perspective, you are actively dismantling the respect you are trying to earn. Understand this. Attraction is often sparked by friction, not the destructive kind, but the healthy, intellectual kind that arises when two people collide. You have been conditioned to believe that harmony is the goal of every interaction. You think that by smoothing over every difference, you are building a bridge. You are not. You are building a wall of boredom. When you suppress your own opinions to avoid the slightest hint of conflict, you are effectively extinguishing the fire. Think about it. If you never push back, if you never offer a counterpoint, if you never introduce a different way of seeing the world, you are not a partner. You are an echo. A relationship without friction is a static environment where nothing grows. It is a vacuum. When you hide your true thoughts because you fear the discomfort of a disagreement, you are signaling that your own perspective is not worth defending. That is the moment the attraction dies. It does not die because you disagreed. It dies because you lack the courage to be a distinct individual. Stop viewing disagreement as a threat. View it as the pulse of a living dynamic. It is the friction that creates heat. Stop trying to be safe. Start being real. Now, consider the power of holding your ground. When you stand firm on a belief, you are not being difficult. You are demonstrating that you possess a strong internal compass. This is the ultimate test of character. Most men fold the moment they sense a shift in the room, but the man who remains steady signals that his values are not up for negotiation. This is not about winning an argument. It is about showing that you are a distinct individual with a foundation that cannot be shaken by a passing opinion. When you hold your ground, you change the entire dynamic of the interaction. You move from being a follower to being a partner who brings his own weight to the table. This demonstration of integrity is what truly builds respect. It forces her to recognize that you are not there to be molded or managed. You are there to engage. When you refuse to abandon your perspective just to keep the peace, you create a standard for how you expect to be treated. This is the allure of the man with a mission. She will respect the man who stays true to his own map. By standing your ground, you stop chasing attraction and start commanding it. Now, we address the third trap, the priority sacrifice. You drop your hobbies, your work, and your friends the moment she sends a text. You think this is romantic. You think this proves your devotion. In reality, it signals that your life lacks substance. When you are always available, you are telling her that your time has no value, and by extension, that you have no mission beyond waiting for her validation. This is not devotion. It is a clear indicator of desperation. A man who abandons his commitments to accommodate a last-minute plan is not a partner, he is a servant. Think about the signal you send. When you cancel a workout or ignore a work deadline because she reached out, you are showing her that you are easily moved and easily replaced. You are signaling that you do not respect your own path. A man with a mission is inherently more attractive than a man who waits for a notification. Keep your schedule. If you have a commitment, honor it. When you show that your time is governed by your own goals, you make the time you spend with her significantly more valuable. You are not a placeholder in her life. You are a man with a purpose. Stop waiting for the text. Start living the life that makes you worth waiting for. Let us look at the fundamental difference between the pleaser and the man on a mission. The pleaser operates in a state of constant reaction. He watches her face for approval, adjusts his tone to match her mood, and waits for her cues to act. This is a performance, and it is exhausting to witness. In contrast, the man on a mission operates from a place of internal drive. He does not look to her to define his value because his value is already defined. When you pursue your own objectives, you stop being a spectator in your own life. You become a force. The woman in your life does not want a mirror that reflects her own opinions back at her. She wants to see a man who is going somewhere. When you are focused on a goal, you are not waiting for her validation. You are busy building a reality. This shift in focus is the ultimate antidote to neediness. You stop chasing attraction because you are too occupied with your own trajectory to care if she is watching. Paradoxically, this is exactly what makes you magnetic. Stop performing for her attention. Start building the life that commands it. Consider the moment you choose to honor a prior commitment over a sudden, impulsive request. You have a project due or a scheduled training session. She asks you to drop everything for a last-minute dinner. When you decline, you are not being difficult. You are demonstrating that your word is binding. This is the paradox of attraction. The more you value your own time, the more she will value the time you give her. If you are always available, your presence becomes a commodity with zero cost. It is easily ignored. But when your time is governed by your own standards, your attention becomes a reward. It is something to be earned, not something that is simply given away. Think of your schedule as a physical boundary. When you respect that boundary, you force others to respect it as well. Do not be the man who is always waiting in the wings. Be the man who is busy building a life that others want to be a part of. Your time is your most valuable asset. Stop spending it like it is worthless. Stop protecting it like it is the foundation of your character. Now, we must address the fourth trap, the tolerance of disrespect. Many men fall into the habit of accepting poor treatment because they mistake passivity for kindness. She cancels plans at the last minute, or she speaks to you with a dismissive tone, and you say nothing. You tell yourself you are being patient. You tell yourself you are being the bigger person, but in reality, you are failing to establish the baseline of your own worth. When you allow someone to treat you as an afterthought, you are not being a gentleman. You are signaling that your time and your dignity are up for negotiation. Every time you swallow your frustration to avoid a difficult conversation, you are training her to disregard your presence. This is a subtle but destructive cycle. You think you are keeping the peace, but you are actually eroding the foundation of the relationship. Attraction cannot survive in an environment where one person is constantly devalued. If you do not demand respect, you will never receive it. You must learn to recognize when a line has been crossed and have the courage to address it immediately. Kindness is not the absence of boundaries, it is the presence of standards. When you stop tolerating behavior that diminishes you, you change the entire dynamic. You are not a doormat. Understand this clearly. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are the framework of respect that keeps a relationship functional. When you fail to set them, you are not being neutral. You are actively teaching her how to treat you. Every time you remain silent after a slight, you are providing positive reinforcement for that behavior. You are essentially telling her that your feelings are optional. This is a dangerous lesson to instill. If you do not value your own boundaries, why should anyone else? You are the architect of your own social environment. By refusing to define what is acceptable, you are inviting chaos into your life. It is a common mistake to believe that if you just give enough, the other person will eventually recognize your worth. Psychology shows the opposite is true. When you accept disrespect, you lose the very thing that makes you a partner: your integrity. You are not a passive observer of how you are treated. You are the primary participant. If you do not like the way the dynamic is playing out, you have the power to change the rules. Start demonstrating it through the boundaries you uphold. When you set a limit, you are not being difficult. You are being honest. You are defining the terms of your own existence. Now, consider the alternative to silent resentment. Many men believe that if they just hold their tongue long enough, the other person will eventually notice their sacrifice. This is a fantasy. Resentment is a poison that you drink, expecting the other person to suffer. It does not work. Instead of nursing these hidden grievances, you must master the art of the calm address. When a boundary is violated, you do not need to explode. You do not need to lecture. You simply need to state your reality. When she cancels plans at the last minute, you do not need to apologize for her or make excuses. You say, "I value my time, so let's stick to our plans." This is not an attack. It is a declaration of your own priorities. By speaking with composure, you strip away the drama and leave only the truth. You are showing that you are a man who respects his own schedule, which forces her to respect it as well. There is a profound magnetism in a man who can state his needs without needing to be aggressive or apologetic. It signals that you are secure, that you are grounded, and that you are not desperate for her approval. This simple, direct communication is far more attractive than any performance you could ever put on. It transforms you from a follower waiting for permission into a partner who defines the terms of the connection. Finally, we arrive at the most common and destructive error: the rapid investment trap. You meet someone new, and within days, you have already built a future in your mind. You pour all your emotional energy into this connection before it has even earned the space. You text constantly, you prioritize her over your own goals, and you project your internal desires onto a person you barely know. This is not passion, it is a desperate attempt to force a result. When you invest this heavily, you create an immediate, crushing imbalance. You are essentially handing over the keys to your emotional well-being before the other person has even stepped through the door. This creates an unbearable pressure that forces her to either match your intensity or retreat entirely. Most often, she retreats. You are treating the connection like a sprint, but attraction is a slow burn process. It requires space to breathe, to develop, and to prove itself. By rushing, you signal that you have no other focus in your life, which strips away the mystery that keeps a dynamic alive. You are not building a relationship, you are building a cage of expectations. Stop trying to accelerate the timeline. It is time to stop the leak. When you invest too quickly, you create a psychological imbalance that acts as a repellent. You are essentially asking the other person to carry the weight of a commitment they have not yet agreed to. This creates an immediate, suffocating pressure. Think of it as trying to force a fire to reach full heat by dumping an entire log pile onto a single spark. You do not get a bigger flame, you smother the fire entirely. She feels the weight of your unearned expectations, and her natural, subconscious reaction is to recoil. She senses that you are not reacting to who she is, but to the version of her you have constructed in your own head. This is why attraction must be a slow-burn, organic process. It requires the space for two people to reveal themselves in layers. When you rush, you eliminate the mystery that drives curiosity. You are effectively telling her that your emotional state is fragile and dependent on her validation. True attraction is not a race to be won, but a garden to be tended. To break the cycle of overinvestment, you must adopt the strategy of mirroring. This is not a game of manipulation. It is a recalibration of your focus. Match her energy. If she steps towards you with interest, you step toward her with equal enthusiasm. If she pulls back, you must give her space. This is the most effective way to maintain your own autonomy while allowing the connection to find its natural equilibrium. When you constantly chase, you signal that your time and attention are cheap. When you mirror, you signal that you are a person of value. If she sends a short, delayed text, do not respond with a paragraph of emotional depth. match the brevity. If she is busy with her own life, you remain busy with yours. This creates a rhythmic, back-and-forth flow that builds genuine intrigue. By pulling back when she creates distance, you stop the suffocating pressure that kills attraction. You allow her the room to wonder about you. You are not a performer chasing an audience. You are a partner engaging in a dance. Stop leading where there is no follow. Patience is the ultimate indicator of a man who is secure in his own value. When you allow a connection to grow naturally, you demonstrate that you are not desperate for a specific outcome. You are not trying to force a harvest before the seeds have even taken root. This restraint signals high emotional intelligence. It shows that you have a life of substance that does not require her constant presence to feel complete. When you stop obsessing over the timeline, you stop projecting the anxiety that drives people away. Instead, you create a calm, stable environment where attraction can flourish on its own terms. Think of it as tending a garden. You provide the right conditions, your own purpose, your own boundaries, and your own growth, but you do not pull on the stems to make them grow faster. You trust the process. This quiet confidence is deeply attractive because it is rare. It tells her that you are not a man who needs validation to function. Yet, most men fall back into the trap of the chase the moment they feel a flicker of doubt. You send a second text when the first remains unanswered. You double your efforts to please when she grows quiet. You think this is showing commitment, but look at the result. The more you chase, the faster she runs. This is the vicious cycle of unearned investment. Every time you lean in to compensate for her distance, you signal that you are terrified of losing her. You are not pursuing a partner, you are chasing a ghost of your own making. The pressure builds in the silence between your messages. She feels the weight of your expectations, and her natural reaction is to retreat further to find breathing room. You are effectively pushing her away. It is a frantic, exhausting rhythm. You are constantly scanning for signs of her approval, and when they do not come, you increase the intensity of your performance. You are no longer acting like a man with a life. You are acting like a man who has lost his center. The connection is now suffocated by the sheer volume of your need. This is the breaking point. The more you try to secure the bond through force, the more you ensure its collapse. You are creating a vacuum, and the harder you pull, the more the rope snaps. Now, the real terror sets in. You stand at the edge of the habit, staring at the void left by your own silence. If you stop the constant praise, if you stop shifting your schedule to fit hers, you fear she will simply walk away. This is the core of the pleaser identity. The belief that you are only valuable if you are useful. You equate your presence with your performance. When you consider pulling back, your pulse quickens and your mind races with worst-case scenarios. You imagine the conversation ending, the text stopping, the connection dissolving into nothing. This anxiety is not a sign that you are losing her. It is a sign that you are losing your grip on a false reality. You are terrified of being seen as you are, without the armor of constant accommodation. But look closely at the cost. By holding on to this fear, you are actively participating in your own erasure. Every time you suppress a disagreement or prioritize her over your own mission, you confirm to yourself that you are not enough. You are clinging to a sinking ship because you fear the water. The irony is that the moment you stop performing, the fear begins to lose its power. Letting go of the pleaser is the first step toward becoming a man who can actually hold a space for a real partner. The old strategies have failed. Every attempt to secure her attention through compliance has only widened the distance between you. You are exhausted, your internal compass is spinning, and the performance is no longer sustainable. You sit in the silence, watching the phone, waiting for a signal that never comes, and you realize the truth. Your constant availability has made you invisible. This is the breaking point. You have two options. You can continue to shrink yourself, hoping that eventually your sacrifice will be recognized. Or you can stop. You can choose to reclaim your time, your opinions, and your mission. The moment you decide to stop being a doormat, the dynamic shifts. You stand up, you put the phone down, and you walk away from the screen. You stop waiting for her validation to define your worth. This is not a negotiation. It is a reclamation of your own masculine power. You feel the tension in your chest, the urge to check for a message, and you override it with a deliberate action. You return to your work. You focus on your own goals. You stop the cycle of unearned praise. You are a man who knows his own value, and for the first time, you are acting like it. The mask is heavy, and you are tired of holding it up. You realize now that every time you performed, you were not building attraction. You were building a wall. You were so focused on being the man you thought she wanted that you forgot to be a man at all. The breakthrough hits with the force of a physical blow. You have been chasing a ghost. You are trying to manufacture attraction through compliance, but attraction is not a transaction. It is a reaction to presence, to substance, and to a man who exists independently of the woman he is with. You look at the habits that defined your interactions, the unearned praise, the schedule shifts, the constant agreement, and you see them for what they are. Signals of a man who does not trust his own worth. This is the moment the performer dies. You stop measuring your value by the attention you receive. You stop calculating your next move to ensure her approval. The urge to perform is still there, a phantom limb, but you refuse to act on it. You breathe through the discomfort of being still, of being silent, of being yourself. You are not a mirror reflecting her desires. You are an individual with your own gravity. By letting the mask shatter, you stop the frantic pursuit. You realize that the only way to invite her into your world is to actually have one. The silence in the room is no longer empty. It is a workspace. You turn away from the digital void and face the desk, the gym, the project that has been gathering dust. This is the pivot. You stop asking what she wants and start asking what your life requires. You pick up the pen, you tighten the grip on the barbell, you commit to the deadline. Every minute you spend on your own growth is a minute you are no longer spending on performative validation. You feel the pull to check your phone, the old reflex to see if she has reached out, and you physically move the device to another room. This is your boundary. You are not just working, you are building a structure that exists entirely outside of her influence. When a notification pings, you do not jump, you finish the set. You complete the paragraph. You honor the commitment you made to yourself before you ever knew she existed. This is the explosive shift. You are no longer a satellite orbiting her needs. You are the sun. Your mission is the gravity. By focusing on your own development, you stop being a man who waits for permission to exist. You are a man who defines his own reality. You feel the weight of your own purpose, solid and unyielding. You are not chasing attraction anymore. You are constructing the very ground upon which it stands. The work is hard. The focus is absolute. You stop trying to force the bloom. You realize that attraction is not a prize you win through clever tactics or relentless pursuit. It is a natural phenomenon that occurs when the environment is right. Think of it like a fire. You do not command the flame to grow. You provide the fuel, the oxygen, and the structure, and the fire happens on its own. You stop manipulating the variables of your interactions. You stop calculating your responses to maximize her interest. Instead, you focus entirely on the quality of your own atmosphere. You cultivate your own curiosity, your own standards, and your own internal peace. When you enter a room now, you do not scan for her approval. You scan for your own alignment. You watch how others react to your presence, and you notice the difference. When you are not reaching for her, she has the space to reach for you. This is the ultimate paradigm shift. You are not a mechanic trying to fix a broken engine. You are a gardener tending to the soil. You create the conditions where attraction can take root. You are the result. The transition is complete. You are no longer the man who follows, the man who nods, or the man who waits for a signal to speak. You stand with your shoulders back and your gaze steady, not because you are performing, but because you are present. When you speak, you do not look for validation in her eyes. You look for the truth in the interaction. If she voices an opinion you disagree with, you do not fold. You hold your ground, you state your perspective, and you observe the shift in the air. The dynamic changes instantly. It is no longer a performance. It is a conversation between two equals. You notice how your voice drops an octave, how you stop rushing your sentences to fill the silence. You are not trying to impress, you are trying to connect. When she tests your boundaries, you do not retreat into resentment. You address the issue with a calm, direct statement. You say, "I value my time, so let us stick to our plans," and you mean it. You feel the weight of your own autonomy. You are not a satellite, and you are not a leader demanding obedience. You are a partner. You walk into the room, you own your space, and you interact with the world from a position of absolute internal stability. The shift is not just internal, it is visible. You stand in the room and notice the change in the air. People do not just look at you, they lean in. When you stop chasing, you become the point of gravity. You watch her observe you, not with the expectation of a performance, but with the curiosity of someone encountering something solid. She moves closer, not because you beckoned, but because your presence offers a stability she cannot find elsewhere. You are no longer a mirror reflecting her desires. You are an anchor. You see the others in the room adjust their posture when you enter, subconsciously matching your calm. You are not trying to be the prize, yet you have become it. This is the magnetic effect of self-respect. You do not need to announce your value. It is broadcast in the way you hold your silence and the way you refuse to rush your responses. You are the center of your own world, and that is exactly where you belong. The chase is over because you have stopped running. You are the destination. Now, walk back into that same room. The lights are the same, the music is the same, and she is standing in the same corner. But the man who enters is a stranger to the one who walked in months ago. You do not scan the room for her gaze. You do not adjust your pace to match her rhythm. You walk with a steady, measured stride, your feet making firm contact with the floor. You are not performing for an audience. You are simply existing in your own space. When you pass the people who once seemed like judges, you do not seek their validation. You offer a simple, brief nod and keep moving. Your focus is forward, not locked onto her like a spotlight. You reach the center of the room and stop. You do not fidget. You do not check your phone to look busy. You stand with your weight balanced, hands at your sides, breathing deeply. You are not waiting for a cue to act. You are simply present. She looks up, and for the first time, you do not rush to bridge the distance. You hold your ground, you own your silence, and you wait. The performance is over. You are no longer a mirror reflecting someone else's expectations, nor a follower waiting for a signal to act. You are a partner. A partner does not beg for attention, and he does not sacrifice his mission to appease a fleeting interest. He stands on his own foundation. Look at the life you have built. Your work, your goals, and your boundaries are the architecture of your character. When you stop chasing, you create the space for genuine connection to grow. You do not need to impress, you need to be. When she sees you, she sees a man who knows his own value, a man who is not afraid to disagree, and a man who honors his own time. This is the ultimate shift. You are not a character in someone else's story. You are the author of your own. Stop performing. Stop seeking validation. Start acting like the man you were meant to be. Own your purpose. Hold your boundaries. Walk through this world with the quiet, steady confidence of someone who knows exactly where he is going. The room is yours. The life is yours. Now, go out and live it on your own terms. The transformation is complete. You are ready.